Hi, my name is Ashanti and I'm a senior at Vanderbilt University. For my learning challenge, I chose to learn how to latch hook, which is a craft where you use a hook tool to pull yarn through a mesh canvas to create a design. I chose latch hooking because I've been wanting to get into an artistic hobby that helps me de stress and express my creativity. I've always considered myself to be a creative person. I love to write and sing, but over the past year and a half, I stopped due to personal circumstances. This summer, I had a moment where I realized I didn't have a creative outlet anymore, and I started getting paranoid that I would lose my creativity. So I decided to research creative hobbies, looking for something relaxing and productive. I came across latch hooking, which caught my interest, so I immediately went to Amazon and ordered a kit for creating a rug. But once that kit came, I never looked at it again and went on with my life. So I figured this learning challenge would be the perfect opportunity to finally make time to learn how to latch hook. I began my journey by doing basic research on latch hooking, including videos on social media, tips and tricks from websites, and the fundamentals of latch hooking. However, something that significantly affected my learning challenge journey was my external circumstances. Admittedly, I didn't start latch hooking until October, which was a month after I had done my research. I struggled with time management as I have never worked and gone to school at the same time before, as well as trying to balance my social life and other personal matters. This went hand in hand with procrastination, but as time went on and midterms came around, I realized that I had to lock in if I wanted to make the most of this journey. So I reframed the purpose of the assignment as an opportunity to tap into my creative side, which I had been longing to do, rather than being a requirement for class. I finally began to work on the rug kit. As a first time latch hooker, I ran into a lot of little challenges. Yarn kept getting caught with nearby yarn when I tried to make a new knot, since the squares are close together. My knots weren't always tight, and sometimes the yarn pieces ended up uneven. On top of that, I kept getting confused when the colors changed on the rug canvas, but over time I figured out a method that worked for me, which is latch hooking by color and moving left to right and top to bottom. Even though there were moments of frustration, there was something really satisfying about pulling the needle through each square and slowly seeing the pattern come together. In regards to poor time management, I didn't want that to be a defining factor of my journey. I decided to fit latch hooking into my schedule rather than planning to dedicate a day to latch hooking, because something comes up, so I move it to another day, and before I know it, a week has passed and I still haven't made any progress. So I began to swap my usual hobbies of watching YouTube videos and playing The Sims for working on my rug, and sometimes I even brought it to work so that I could latch hook during my lunch break. By fitting it into my existing schedule, I was able to make more progress than I would have if I kept planning to dedicate a certain day to working on my learning challenge. After 4 weeks, my first rug was complete. In order to further understand latch hooking, I wanted to create my own mini rug from scratch, which ended up being the most frustrating but rewarding part of my journey. First, I used Stitch Fiddle to visualize an abstract design for the rug. Then I bought yarn, a rug canvas, and a hot glue gun to seal the edges. I started cutting the yarn based on a method from a YouTube video that I saw, which ended up taking 2 hours because I struggled with getting the yarn to be the same size. Halfway through, I got frustrated and I decided to just eye the pieces I cut, but the urge to make them the same size persisted and added more time to the process, which I later realized was unnecessary. Then I spent another 2 hours coloring in the lines on the canvas because I kept getting confused with trying to match the lines to the visual. This also turned out to be unnecessary because halfway through making the rug, I realized I could just lay the pieces out in the color pattern of the visual. So in total, it took me over 4 hours to prepare the canvas itself, which was frustrating because I thought I could finish prepping within an hour max. It took me about 5 to 6 hours to complete my rug, which is fast considering the other one I took love me how the four rug came weeks. out, and it means so much to me because it represents how far I've come in my learning journey, as I literally made a rug from scratch. There have been so many creative ideas that never made it past the planning stage because I'd get frustrated and give up, start and not finish, or just put off starting altogether. However, this learning challenge forced me to push myself and take risks, which I'm grateful for because I showed myself that I'm capable of learning new skills and capable of applying them correctly, which also improved my confidence. At first, I was annoyed that preparing the canvas and cutting the yarn took so long, especially once I realized there were easier methods. It felt like wasted time, but I eventually understood it was simply part of the learning process. I had to start somewhere to improve. I also learned that not everything has to be perfect. Spending 2 hours trying to cut identical yarn pieces was unnecessary, and the slight inconsistencies actually gave the rug more character. This reminded me that in art, there is no true perfect. Every mistake adds uniqueness. Moving forward, I plan to continue latch hooking when I have downtime and feel like being creative, or when I want to unwind and be stressed. Over time, I want to challenge myself with more intricate designs and create pieces other than rugs. Professionally, my next step post grad is to gain more experience in human resources, and after a few months, I want to get an HR certificate so that I can continue expanding my knowledge and nurture skills essential to HR. For now, my career goals surround climbing the human resources ladder, but eventually I might shift focus to my passion for epidemiology and health disparities and pursue a master's in public health. Thank you for watching my video.